Everybody, if you're a Stranger Things fan, then you know that season 5 dropped as of Thanksgiving, day before Thanksgiving, 2025. And I'd like to make a review video, or more just share some of my thoughts about the season finale. If you haven't been to my channel before, my name's PJ Dudek. I'm an author. I'm starting a sci-fi fantasy series called The Song of Immaru. Book 1, Earth's Door, is already out. Book 2, Crimson Light, will be coming out in summer of 2026. Check the information below to learn more about my writing. And if you're a fan of Stranger Things, you will very much like my book. At least I think you're very likely going to enjoy it because it has that same vibe. And I'll use that word, vibe, to jump into my review. So if you enjoy Stranger Things, one of the reasons is probably the fact that it blends this unsettling, mysterious world of the Upside Down with a very sort of normal, nostalgic 80s Midwestern world of Hawkins, Indiana. In this world, you have a whole bunch of entertaining, sometimes nerve-wracking, sometimes heartwarming series. And there's definitely been some of the seasons better than others. I think season 4 for me just really stood out as truly epic. And if you haven't seen season 4, some spoilers here, but you have the scene with Max running up the hill when she's escaping Vecna. You have Eddie's scene with Master of Puppets, like the guitar solo on the roof. I mean, just the way they combined music with the drama and with the characters you really have come to love. It was just phenomenal. So really enjoyed season 4. So going into season 5, I had high hopes. And overall, I'd say it was fine, and there were decent parts, and there were parts that I thought were a little bit, lackluster in terms of when I'm comparing it to season 4. I'm going to try to avoid bigger spoilers, but just assume you're going to get some spoilers in this. So if you haven't seen season 5 yet, you might want to come back to this video later, just to make sure I don't mess up the experience for you. And I want to note too, this is the review of the first drop, whatever they're calling it, the first 4 episodes. And I'll likely make another video for the second drop and then the final episode, which I believe comes out New Year's Eve. And that'll, give me something to do until midnight when I welcome in 2026. All right, so season 5. Mild spoilers here. Season 4, Hawkins basically has been sort of cracked into multiple pieces by Vecna. And it seemed like some of the Upside Down was creeping out. Well, in season 5, the government's sealed up these cracks, and kids are even like sled riding down it. It was sort of surreal watching how little concern people had over the fact that Hawkins is, kind of ripped up and covered over. There's also a heavy military presence, and basically everyone in Hawkins has been quarantined. So that's kind of the setup to this. One thing I struggled with right out of the gate was something that was needed, but it definitely felt a little bit rushed. And that is Robin, one of the characters. She's a radio announcer now. And she just does a huge expedition dump to catch you up on, why there's in quarantine and kind of the protocol for everybody who's living in Hawkins. But that was fine. But the thing that was tough was everyone in Hawkins is just living like everything is completely normal despite this quarantine. They're going to school, there's hospitals, the whole society just seems to be working. The infrastructure's there. And that, I say it hurt my suspension of disbelief. This is sort of a somewhat unbelievable show, but a good sci-fi fantasy show will still, not make it too hard for me to fit into this new world paradigm. But the fact that people were acting so normal was a little bit troubling. But I still really like the characters. Some of the characters, like Dustin, he takes a little bit of a turn, which is interesting. Goes from kind of happy-go-lucky to a little more brooding because he's really impacted by Eddie's death, understandably. So created some new interesting arcs for some of these characters. The first 2 episodes were definitely the weakest. And again, this was because they were just catching you up on so much stuff. And I think they could have moved through that a little bit faster. But again, these are entertaining characters. I think they're all acted well. So it was not the worst thing to be eased back into Hawkins. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a great watcher of horror movies. So the more gory stuff and the intense stuff, sometimes, I can't even watch it first round. Like when Vecna was, doing basically breaking everybody's bones in season 4. Like I couldn't even watch that stuff. I still can't watch it now. I mean, just hearing the sounds was more than enough for me to visualize what was going on. So the fact that this started slower wasn't the worst thing for me, but it just, I could have moved just a tiny bit quicker, I think. Finally, we do get a whole lot more of the Upside Down, but the Upside Down it's less of this mysterious, brooding, almost alive world in this movie, and it's kind of this just another setting. And mild spoiler here, the military is actually down in there doing some, they have a base down in there, they're doing some investigation. Just having the military and a human presence down there does diminish some of the anxiety I'd feel whenever the characters used to have to go into the Upside Down. Again, this wasn't terrible, but it was different. It's more like a war zone than a mysterious fantasy world. One thing I really liked was, I don't know where Vecna is. As an audience, you're not sure where Vecna is. You think he's maybe in this military base, or maybe he's lurking around. So that, having him as a specter in the background, like everybody's assuming he's still alive. They do a little tap dancing to try to explain like why they're assuming he's still alive, because he did get kind of blown up pretty bad in season 4. But I like that. I like that brooding presence of the bad guy. I'm not seeing him. I know he's going to show up, and wondering when. That made for a really good, exciting feeling to make me want to keep watching. Another thing was different is now, and this fit with sort of where the show is going, some of the characters, like Eleven as an example, is much more superpowered. She's more like a Supergirl now. But they were leading up to this. I mean, she's sort of got telekinesis and whatever, and could do like X-Men type things. So that was fine. But it did, it's another tool that they can use. It's maybe a little less exciting than when they had to put together more elaborate plans. Yet I say that, and they actually did. The kids did multiple times, 2 or 3 times in this movie, have a many-minute montage of them putting together a plan, poking holes in it, refactoring it to make it better. And I kind of like those, but it was too much. It was too much planning. I think I would have liked it better just, hey, they're going to go, and at least for one of these situations, they're going to go and they conspire, come up with a plan, and then you actually kind of see the plan play out. Again, this is a pretty subjective opinion. Some people might enjoy seeing the process a little bit more. I didn't, at least for the final plan that they came up with, to help some kids that have been taken by the military. So another thing that was slightly jarring for me. There's this new actor. He's sort of this obnoxious kid who's going to be chosen to be kidnapped essentially by Vecna. And I thought he was kind of fun. He was a little bit of the comic relief. I think without Dustin being the comic relief, they needed somebody else. And this kid did a nice job putting that element into Stranger Things, because every single season has somebody who's a little more lighthearted to diminish just that, the darker vibes that the show gives. So that was pretty good. And again, the show stuck really well to the theme of kind of silly, but also serious. And it does this intentionally, And if you don't like that, you're just not going to like Stranger Things. But I think, again, they did a nice job in season 5 so far, balancing that out. They had a couple characters, again, just kept the silly going. And then you had some more characters that were a little more like, brooding and intense and pushing the plot forward. Of course, there were a couple parts, I think by the 3rd episode, I don't know, maybe late 2nd or 3rd episode, that I wasn't able to fully watch the screen because it was getting a little intense, a little gross. So nothing over the top if you can't handle gore very well. I mean, this is probably, if you're into that type of thing, Stranger Things is probably the tamest thing in the world. But for someone who doesn't watch that frequently, it was right at the cusp of like, all right, this is a little much. But if I have to turn away a little bit, then it's keeping me. It means I'm drawn in enough to the world to care, to actually, avert my eyes a tad. So overall, well played. The ending, I think, really landed well. So one of the main characters, something happens, they get the opportunity to shine. Shine is not the right word in this case, but they get to do something really, really, really cool. and help out their buddies, which I thought was super nice. And this ending just sets up things so well that I think the next installment's going to be, I'm just guessing, I think it's going to be super, super good, because I'm very interested in what they're going to do with this character's new powers, with some other revelations that all just came flying in towards the end. The pieces are in place for a really good conclusion. And to summarize this first part, it was putting the pieces on the board so that they're all ready to move and things can go totally crazy, yet still make sense with how they set it up to land this plane very, very well. So I'm very optimistic. Vecna is such a great villain in terms, he's so nasty, but he's got some hang-ups that they mentioned that are very, very interested and probably going to be used against him. But just because of how nasty he is and all the awful things he's done, I'm looking forward. I'm expecting him to get what he deserves. But the fact that I want that means they set up a really good villain, and the characters again are very likable, and they want to do the right thing. So I'm hoping they all win. So what did you think of Stranger Things 5? Did you get some of the same thoughts I did? Love to hear in the comments anything that you're thinking of in terms of what was good, what was bad in this first installment, and also what you think might be happening or being set up for the next installments. What do you think is ultimately going to happen to Vecna? That's kind of my biggest question coming out of this, and really coming out of the whole season. And again, if you want to check out my series, more information in the description below, and got lots of sales going on right now for the holidays. So hope you have a great December, and if you're watching this later, a great whatever, and talk soon.